So no progress in Gaza. What about the second front, the Red Sea? Well, ships continue to avoid that route. More than 100 vessels have changed course. They're not using the Red Sea anymore. Instead, they're sailing around Africa. It's a much longer journey, around 6,000 nautical miles extra, which usually takes around 2 weeks. So what happened to the US-led coalition? Around 10 nations had agreed to guard commercial ships to defend against the Houthis. Has that plan flopped? Well, it's too early to say. The Houthis claim they're not concerned. They're threatening to sink American warships.
Any American targeting of our country will be targeted by us, and we will make American battleships' interests and navigation a target for our missiles, drones, and military operations.
A lot of bluster there. It may not frighten well-armed US warships, but it will frighten commercial vessels. So what's the solution? The Red Sea coalition has two major problems. One, it's taking time. The White House says more warships will enter the Red Sea. But the question is, when?
There's going to be a whole lot of hardware in the Red Sea now, naval hardware, not just from the United States, but other ships from other nations, to counter these threats. So let's see where it goes. I mean, it's up and running now.
Let's see where it goes is not a sound strategy. It doesn't scream confidence, which brings us to the second problem, the participation. It's called the Red Sea Coalition. But how many Red Sea countries are part of it? 0. The only Arab member is Bahrain. No Saudi Arabia, no UAE, not even Egypt, which runs the Suez Canal. Now, the UAE is understandable. It mostly uses the Persian Gulf, so the Red Sea is not as consequential for them. But what about Saudi Arabia? Around 36% of its imports come through the Red Sea. Its modern hub, Jeddah, is located along the coast. So why hasn't Riyadh joined? Officially, there is no reason, but looks like two factors influence the kingdom's decision. Factor number one is Iran. Riyadh and Tehran signed a peace deal this year. They decided to normalize relations. So the long-time rivalry is on pause. But joining the Red Sea coalition could have changed that. Iran has questioned this 10-nation force. They say it will soon face quote-unquote problems. Maybe Riyadh did not want to risk that. Factor number two is the Houthis themselves. They're fighting a civil war in Yemen. On the opposite side is a Saudi-backed government. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman started this war. But looks like he's had enough. He's looking for an exit. In September, Riyadh hosted a Houthi delegation. It said the talks were positive. So there is hope of a clean withdrawal. But if MBS joins the coalition, maybe not. The Houthis have already attacked Saudi cities. They won't hesitate to do it again. So that explains Saudi Arabia's reluctance. They have their own priorities, like economic diversification, building futuristic cities, or even preparing for the FIFA World Cup in 2034. And for that, MBS needs peace. It's a tough balance, because he cannot walk away from the US alliance or the Red Sea. Maybe that's why Bahrain joined. You see, Bahrain is a tiny country in the Gulf. Its population is just 1.4 million. It's often called a Saudi client state, meaning Bahrain does what Riyadh wants it to. In this case, join the Red Sea coalition. But will it be enough to deter the Houthis? The markets don't think so. Oil prices rose 2% on Wednesday. They've reached $80 per barrel. Now, to put that in context, last week oil prices were just $73. So clearly there is fear. Even China is spooked. Around 60% of China's exports to Europe go through the Red Sea. So Beijing says civilian ships must be protected.
China has always advocated safeguarding the security of international waterways and opposed acts of harassing civilian vessels. We believe that all the parties, especially the major countries with influence, should play a constructive and responsible role in ensuring the security of the Red Sea waterways.
Now, that statement could be important. China has close ties to Iran, and Iran basically controls the Houthis. So Beijing could pull some strings. It's a question of how far the Houthis are willing to push. They know that America is reluctant to escalate. They know the Saudis are half-hearted. So the Houthis basically hold all the cards. Imagine that. A ragtag group of militants are holding trillions of dollars hostage.